Ron, you're ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, and so am I. So good evening. It's Monday, March 14th of 2022. This is the Stoughton Plan Commission meeting. We do have a quorum. The first item on the agenda tonight is the minutes from the February 14th, 22 meeting. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
After reviewing the documents, I will make that motion to approve them as submitted.
All right, a motion by Robinson. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by, was that Caravello?
It was indeed.
All right. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? The minutes carry. Next item is City Council representation board.
And that looks like at the February 22nd council meeting, R35 of 2022 was approved. And at the March 8th council meeting, ordinances 5, 6, 7, and 8 of 2022 were all approved.
All right, thank you. And then we have the status of the current developments. Director Shield.
There's a quick summary in your packet of projects that are ongoing. Not included in this particular summary is the Dane County Sheriff's Precinct at the corner of County N and 51. They've recently begun occupying that space and functioning out of that facility. So I think the commissioners actually can take note of the architecture. The commissioners will recall you guys played a role in help guide some of the character of that building based on what they had originally submitted. There were some alterations made based on your recommendations.
Any questions about the reports? Hearing none. Next item is a public hearing to consider a proposed project plan, boundaries, and creation of tax incremental district number 9. There is a public hearing notice which was published on March 24th and March 3rd. Any questions about this one, or what would we like to do?
I'm assuming it wasn't published on March 24th since that hasn't come yet.
February 24th and March 3rd.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Would you like Dave to give his overview now, or would you like to wait for the next item?
I guess we can just jump right into the next item. Consideration of possible action on the resolution designated proposed boundaries and approving the project plan for the tax incremental district number 9 in the city of Stoughton. And I think Dave Ferris from Ellers is here to kind of walk us through this. Whenever you're ready, Dave.
Rodney's going to drive for me, so I have to wait for him to pull up the presentation quick. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Does that show on everybody's screen in total, or is it kind of off to the side?
Looks good to me.
Huh. Maybe it's just the way I have the screen. That's better. Okay. Why don't you go on to the next page, Rodney? Earlier tonight, we met with the Joint Review Board and organized the board to establish itself for the final review that you'll see happen somewhere after April 26th, and went through the project plan with them. There was a couple questions. One had to do with the potential future underpass that's included in the project plan, but isn't established on any specific year. It's kind of a to be determined project, depending on if the district generates increment to be able to pay for it. The other thing that they kind of talked about was kind of the makeup of the residential, the land uses, and we showed them the land uses, and Rodney went through kind of how that development was going to be set up. So those were the two initial questions from the board. obviously we're here for the public hearing and to consider the resolution, which we would use to recommend to the city council the creation and the establishment of the boundaries. April 12th, we're scheduled to be at the city council to talk about creating TID 9, and there's a resolution that does that. And then we discussed a meeting night. If the city council does approve the creation of TID 9, we'll be meeting on May 5th at 5 o'clock for the Joint Review Board to do their final review and hopeful approval, as long as the city council has moved that forward. Next page. This is just a real basic TIF 101 chart. The base property value of TIF number 9 is about $35,000, and that's where our starting point would be. That value is being taxed currently by the other taxing jurisdictions, and there's probably not a whole lot of taxes being collected on that property at this point. The purple area is how we would hope to develop this property and gain value. The value of the property as we go forward is estimated to be about $45.2 million of value, and that's what that purple area would represent. And then when we get to 2043, which would be the last year that this district could be open per statutes, that would be the point where we would close the district, and the other taxing districts would then be able to start taxing on all of the value that is included in that purple area. If the TIF district does better, it's possible that that termination line would be back farther. And at the point that you do close, the consideration, at least in today's laws, is do you stay open another year for affordable housing? Or, at that point in time, maybe the law is different, then you're able to get a few more years out of it. So at that point in time, which it's quite a ways out, the city will have a chance probably to use increment after that initial closure period for those type of things. The expenditure period is go back one more. The expenditure period, as it states on the bottom, is the last date that we can spend money on basically the infrastructure and the hard costs. We can still start charging. We can still charge money to the TIF for debt service and any kind of administration as well. But after that April 12th of 37, we can't pay for projects and municipal revenue obligations that aren't established prior to that. Next slide. So the map is a little tiny. If you want to see a little bigger map, the project plan itself on page 20 does show this same map. This is the boundaries of the TIF district, plus it also has the future land uses in it, so you can kind of get a feel. And I believe, Rodney, said that you've seen this enough times that this isn't anything new, but it kind of gives you an idea of where this is, where the boundaries go to, and what the uses are within it. The purpose of this district is to fund incentives, and those incentives will go for market type residential development, as well as an affordable housing project. Also, there may be potential development incentives for commercial. As far as projects that are outside of what the developer will be installing, which will go through that municipal revenue obligation that we will providing him, is a project that the city would pay for, which would be improvements to the Highway 51 corridor. As you heard about the city endorsing the roundabout, that type of stuff will be paid for by the city. The goal of this project plan is to obviously expand housing opportunities, as well as potentially have some commercial in that area to help service some of those housing developments. And then the one thing that we really need to be cognizant in this area is that no more than 35% of the area can be newly platted residential. That's something that we always need to keep an eye on, because we've had clients that have just gone and done some of their stuff and actually blew up this 35%. And so we'll want to be careful to make sure that, if there's any kind of changes in uses in the future, that would make sure that we're at least less than that 35%. Next page. We talked about some of the projects already: development incentives for housing, for affordable housing, construction improvements, and a potential underpass. There's also some funds in here for the planning and promotion and economic development, or the administration. And as I talked about earlier, the underpass project, is something that is on the project plan list or on the project list, which is on page 22 of the project plan, and it has a TBD in the year that it'll be done because, like I said, if there's available increment at the point that the city wants to undertake that, that would be the funding source for that project. Next page. These are the development assumptions that staff has determined, and I believe the developer has participated in, which basically is when will those housing developments and commercial come in. As you can see, there's some decent amount of value coming in from each type of development. Overall, though, we're hoping to bring in about 45.2 million of new development. Next page. This next schedule is on page 25 of the project plan. And really what this does is help us take those development assumptions and convert it into the money that the TIF district would potentially receive as long as everything comes in when this project plan says. And by taking that value plus a little bit of inflationary increase on that value and multiplying it by what's called the interim tax rate, which is basically the equalized tax rate or the tax rate that is calculated on the market value of the property in the city. That would be the increment that's generated in that orange column. So potentially, if the development occurs as it is in here, the district could potentially bring in about 16.6 million of increment. And the only reason that would go all the way out that far is if the TIF district needed that to close. It's possible you would collect less if the district is successful. Next page. This last page of this presentation is just the cash flow. The increment projection that was on the last page, the 16.6 million, is on the left. That's the major revenue to this district. We have some borrowing that would be the city's share of the Highway 51 projects that we talked about earlier. Then we have the MROs, which is the municipal revenue obligations, also known as PAYGO, pay-as-you-go type of incentive, where there's an agreement with the developer for the non-affordable housing portion that they will get a certain amount up to 8.6 million. And then there's also a municipal revenue obligation that will take place for the affordable housing. The affordable housing is something that the city actually has committed to if that project actually gets approved. It's something that when they present or when they submitted their application for WIDA tax credits, it's something they had to have the backing of the city. And typically those projects end up using most of that development revenue that comes in. There's the neighbors to the west of you in Oregon that had the same thing. And a lot of that value goes towards that contribution to get those tax credits. So a little bit of administration, and if everything gets developed in the same as the project plan and everything gets spent and the developer, provides the right kind of value and gets those incentives, there's potential based on this that you would close in about 2041. The only thing that I know that could change on this schedule or on some of the things that I just talked about is that Frank Roman from our office, who does the pro forma review, noted that both the MSA consultant and our numbers that they were working together on for the affordable housing was more like 7.5 million instead of the 9 million. When I plugged that number in, it did not change the closure year in the model. So because the MRO for the affordable housing is such a great percentage of how much we're collecting, it really didn't move the needle a whole lot. So really what you're seeing in front of you still will look similar once those numbers are changed. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if you saw anything in the project plan that you have questions on, we will definitely try to take on your questions.
All right, thank you. Are there any initial questions before we go into the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close the regular meeting and reopen for the public hearing. Nobody was signed up for the public hearing. Is anybody wish to speak on the topic as long as we have this open?
Yes, I do.
On this subject here.
not on this subject now.
Okay, I think yours would be next then.
Okay.
Anybody for this subject here? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, reopen for our business here. And we are looking for a motion here. And the resolution is on your screen. I'd entertain the motion at this time.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the creation of tax incremental district number 9.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Farrell. And any questions or comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed?
I am going to register as an abstain.
Okay, that was Caravello.
Yes.
Caravello abstains, and what else did I hear?
Opposed.
Majewski opposed. Okay. And the motion does carry. Thank you very much. Next item is item number 7 is conditional use permit for indoor commercial entertainment use at Cheezer's 183/187 East Main Street. Somebody want to give us an overview before we go into the public hearing?
Yeah, this type of use is a conditional use in the district of which it's found. It's before you to be considered as part of the CUP application process for this property.
And then the 2 addresses, is that upstairs, downstairs, or?
I think it's the same building, but I think there might be, yes, multiple addresses within the building.
All right. Are there any initial questions from the commissioners? Hearing and seeing none, we'll close the meeting and reopen for the public hearing. And I do believe I have at least 3 people that would like to speak at the public hearing. The rules are basically you have 3 minutes to speak on the topic. We ask that you keep, your comments to the point and respectful. And, we don't have direct communications. It's not a Q&A. So you can certainly make your statement. And then if the commissioners choose to comment on that later during the action period, that would be totally up to them. And the first person I had signed up was, is it Ed or Edward? How would you like to be referred to?
Ed.
Ed. Okay, Ed, so you have 3 minutes.
All right. Well, I probably won't need all 3 of that. I just wanted to, and I'm here with my wife, Becky, and she has operated a retail business above Cheezer's. So Cheezer's is 183, we're 187. We have run a retail business above Cheezer's for 14 years. And we support Brian and Amy's plans for their conversion of the 2nd floor of their building into their new intended use. I just wanted to let the commission know that full daily commercial foot traffic has traveled the joint stairway to the 2nd floor for all of those 14 years between 183 and 195 East Main Street. And there hasn't been any trouble during those 14 years. And that traffic has occurred long before Alan owned the building next door. Alan could not have bought the building when he did without full and complete knowledge of that retail commerce was occurring across the hall from his tenant. So I know that he's expressed some concerns about that. So I just wanted to make sure the commission knew that there's been a retail business up there for 14 years. So.
All right, thank you for being here tonight. Next person I had signed up, is it Gianna?
Hi, yes, I'm Gianna. I am the owner of the Next Generation, which is 2 doors down from Cheezer's. And I just wanted to be here today to support Brian. We see on a daily basis that Cheezers is very much a destination. We have so many people that come in from out of town that are there for multiple reasons on Main Street, but one of the biggest draws is Cheezers. So in looking at and discussing with Brian what his ideas were, I couldn't be in more support of it. I think having seen a number of businesses close recently, and certainly during the pandemic, that it would be in everyone's best interest to have more options, more of a rounded use. And I also just wanted to make it clear that my business, which is a children's store and then women's clothing, is directly next to and has been directly next to a bar for 36 years. So, I know that there are times when people look at, certainly in this case, a conditional use involving wine or spirits. I have never had a problem, being next to the bar. There has never been, I have tenants that are next to the bar. I've never heard any complaints about sounds. And that is a bar that's open until, bar time, not the 9 o'clock that Brian's talking about. So I'm just here as another local business owner who's totally in support of what he's looking to do.
All right, thank you for being here. And then I have Alan, you have 3 minutes.
Yes, I am not saying I'm not in support for what Brian's doing. I think it's a great idea. My issue is, and I know Ed made a statement about the use of the stairway. The stairway's also been used through Cheezers. Cheezers has their own internal stairway. My issue that I'm having is that when you go up that stairway, it opens to a community stairway. I have 2 residential apartments on the other side. Now, Brian, I've talked to Brian's other partner, and I know it's been very much noted that that will not be used, which I appreciate. All I ask is that we put emergency exit onlys on those doors, because if you look at his map, those 2 doors on each side of his counters open directly into my apartments. And while we say that the stairways are used, I actually have photographs of the stairways. The front stairways that Ed talks about going up are pretty worn out, and I can demonstrate pictures of that. The back stairways are not worn out at all. Nevertheless, the issue that I have on all this from the get-go was the fact that potentially, people could be roaming around those stairs. I've talked to Brian's partner. She's assured me that those would be kept shut and they would have emergency exit. All I ask is this group to put this in writing, because I don't want to have issues down the road. I don't want to have a shaker scenario. I don't want to have where somebody walks out in that hallway and is smoking or drinking and having other issues happening. I know that when Brian has his written, he's indicated, or his partner indicated, that it was a wine bar. I know that they serve wine, beer, bourbon, and so forth. I don't know if down the road, if that's going to be expanded into that. Again, I'm not having an issue with what Brian's doing. I think it's a great idea. All my issue is the exiting into that shared hallway. They have their own internal staircase, and I was indicated and told that they would use that staircase for everything coming in and going out with their customers and their products and so forth. All I'm asking is do not utilize that stairway as a shared stairway, which I'm a part owner, because we start getting into liabilities and insurance and everything else of going up and down those shared stairways. And it could be very devastating for somebody from a cost standpoint. Somebody's going to have to notify insurance companies and so forth. And as far as hours, yes, Ed's, I think, store is open Wednesday through Saturday. They close at 5 p.m. There's been no indication as far as the events that are going to be there, how often the events are going to be, and so forth. I think there needs to be a little better clarification on that. And again, I'm not fighting Cheezers. I'm happy that Cheezers is expanding. I think it's good for Stoughton. I just want to have protection for my assets, which is Sage Properties and my tenants. And again, I pay all the electricity and so forth in that part of that building, including the roof over that building. So it's very important for safety standpoint that, and again, it was already agreed upon, But all I'm asking is let's put this in writing so there isn't a communication or an issue down the road. If things have to change down the road and Cheezers wants to change something up there on the second floor, maybe they want to make it into an apartment or something, then we just redo this. We figure out what has to be done. I'm very open to working with them. I'm only trying to protect is the investment that I have, which are the apartments and the safety of those people in those apartments across the hall, which are exactly across the doorways that you can see on there with that shared hallway. So again, I think it's a great idea. I hope the best for Cheezers. That's all I ask is please keep those doors, as I was told, they would be taken as shut and secured and have emergency exit only. That's all I'd like to have done out of this.
All right, thank you for being here tonight. Did anyone else want to speak on this issue?
Yeah, I think I'd like to just say a few things if I can.
Okay,
Sorry,
okay.
I didn't officially sign up to speak, but I should have. I just want to say that, you know, we've owned the building now for a little over 3 years. We've owned Cheezers, the business, for just under 3 years. Cheezers has been operating in that building since 2006. When they moved to that location in 2006, they put in seating for about 20 people and served grilled cheese sandwiches and soup every day. So in my opinion, that would make it a restaurant, and they should have been zoned that way from 2006 on. So really what I'm trying to do here is correct something that should have been done a long time ago. And, you know, then we were issued a liquor license last year, a Class B liquor license, and we don't have zoning for it. So all I'm doing is trying to correct a wrong here, and that's it. I mean, we run a good business and we'll continue to run a good business, and I want to be respectful of what Alan's saying. Yes, definitely. We don't want anyone in that hallway. Absolutely. It's emergency exit only. That's all I have. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Brian. And again, I think he's got a great idea. I think we're all trying to make Stoughton a better place with what we've done in our businesses. Many of us are new people here in Stoughton. Sorry I butt in, but I think there's a goal to try to bring people back down to Stoughton. And I think Brian's done a hell of a job with Cheezers. And I think it shows what he's doing in the place. And I think we can work together and resolve this. And that's what I'd like to do.
All right, thank you. Anybody else like to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and reopen for our regular business. So Rodney or Michael, can you just kind of walk us through this resolution for the conditional use permit? I don't hear either one of you.
I'm sorry for that. I was muted. Michael, would you like to move forward with this?
Michael's muted as well.
Yeah, right. I thought you were talking there. So what do you want to know about the resolution?
So basically, a conditional use permit is required because we're changing the use of the upstairs. Is that how this goes?
Well, it's a restaurant / tavern use. I don't think we knew about the previous cheese sandwiches or whatever was being served there before, but I guess we're trying to clear it up, and this is a resolution that would go on to council.
All right. And do any of the commissioners have any questions about it?
Just one question. I know Alan asked that the 2 doors being marked as emergency exit only, that he wanted that in writing. Do we need to put that as part of the resolution, do you think?
Yes, you probably want that as a condition.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, this is Todd. I'd like to say, I mean, in the resolution, the list of new uses that were proposed, I think are all very appropriate to business users, and I think will really complement what they offer. I guess I'm just a little confused at calling those additions to the business a bar or restaurant or tavern. And I understand we're also, I guess, in some ways trying to make some of the use that's been occurring on the first floor consistent with what's on the books in terms of the zoning. But I guess clarification might be, are we looking to have the upstairs actually be a wine bar or a restaurant, or is it going to be more along the lines of the list of the uses that were listed in the resolution?
Well, I think they're tavern and restaurant type uses, but it doesn't spell it out specifically. I know he's got a number of things he wants to do with classes and tastings, and maybe somebody wants to have a glass of wine while they're at a class. But, maybe Brian could speak to that a little more.
Yeah, I think our intention is really not to run any set hours of operation up there. It's more of a private event and special events that we will announce. But, yeah, it's not a wine bar per se that's going to have set hours. It's more of, we're going to have a charcuterie class. And yes, people are going to have wine with their charcuterie, and we're going to hopefully, part of what happened in 2006 when that building was renovated, a large amount of money was spent putting that interior stairwell in there. I think the plan was, when they renovated the building, was that it would be one business using both floors. And so this really goes back to what the intended use of the building was, is that we're going to have one business using both floors, that it's going to complement what we do. We want people coming in the main door, going up those stairs, going to a class or going to a tasting. And then as they exit going down, they're going to buy some stuff on their way out the door. And that's going to be great for our business and great for everybody around us. So yeah, it's just, I can't tell you today exactly what we're going to do, because it's business and things change. And we're going to throw some things out at the wall and see what sticks. We're going to try some things, and what works will work. Cooking classes all through the house is closed. So, hey, we'll probably do some cooking classes. And they served wine at their cooking classes, by the way. So this is nothing that hasn't happened before in Stoughton.
Any other questions from commissioners?
I have one quick comment. There was mention of, I believe Alan mentioned something about time. And I know that Brian, or operating times or closing at 9 p.m., I think was thrown out there. And I know Brian was just saying that it's going to be kind of free form, I guess, until he discovers what formula actually works, or what particular classes or events are going on. But is that something, I'm just wondering if that's something that we should, if that's possible, if Brian is comfortable with having like a, no later than 9 p.m. or something like that in regards to Alan's concerns, or I don't know, how did you feel about that?
Can I chime in on that a little bit? I'm not so concerned of his times. The noise obviously could be an effect because it is upstairs. I don't know if they're going to have music or loud things or some, but I sense from what Brian said that he's cognizant of the fact that there's rentals next door. And I'm sure that if there was an issue, I would hope we would be able to talk about it. I'm not asking to put restrictions on him. He's told me that they don't have any interest in making this a bar or a tavern upstairs. That's what I was told before. That's still the case, right, Brian?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm not running a bar.
So I understand. And I think the real emphasis is the safety and security of that hallway, and the usage, and not having the usage of the hallway for, patrons and customers, or, even you know, even if at all possible, not even having as deliveries, because what happens is, you know, those two-wheel trucks, bam, 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 up those large flight of stairs, which makes a hell of a lot of racket in my business alone, including the apartments. Both my apartments, I have renters that one works night, one works days. So I don't want to have to be called all the time and say, hey, it's really loud, what's going on? And I think as long as Brian's cognizant of that, I'm happy to work with him on it.
All right. Does that answer your question, Alder Carabello?
Yep, I just wanted to make sure everybody's concerns were addressed. So that sounds good to me.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? All right, hearing none. So there is a resolution here. What would you like to do, commissioners?
I would like to make a motion that we send this to the council for approval as it's been submitted. Is it going to council?
Oh, sorry.
So I heard a motion. Was there a second? Was that Carabello?
Yes, it was.
All right. Any more discussion?
And you said as submitted with having the emergency exits put in.
I don't think that's how it was submitted.
Yeah,
That's right.
Add that contingency.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the motion would have to change to include the contingency of the secure doors on the second floor to the stairwell.
Right. So the motion is as it is. Somebody could make an amendment if they so chose.
Yeah, I would move to amend the motion to include the stipulation that the two doors that are between that second floor space and the shared stairway be secure. Exit only.
Okay, and would there be a second?
I'll second that. Oh, sorry. It sounds like we have a question.
Yes, I do.
Was that a second, Tom? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
No, it's a question before we get to that point.
Okay.
The word secured, what does that mean?
Emergency exit.
Thank you. Let's put that in there then. Because if you say secured, it means that they're just locked.
Right.
All right. So I'm still looking. Is there a second for the motion then to secure?
I will second. As opposed to instead of secured, as having them acknowledge or indicated as emergency exits only.
Okay. All right. So there's a motion and a second to amend the original motion to have it. Basically, you're going to put a sign on it. Is that what it comes down to? Is that how you guys are understanding this?
Well, I don't know if that's up to would it be the fire chief as far as the type of exit doors that it classifies as emergency exit door with the sign?
And it may be what's already on there for all I know.
They're just standard wood doors, entry doors.
So I'm asking the commissioners what's the intent here.
For what it's worth, both of those doors do have a lit red exit sign above them that were put in back when that was remodeled back in 2005.
So I'm asking the commissioners, what is the intent here? Is it to have a sign on the door or potentially change the door locks?
My impression and my amendment originally was for it to be emergency exit only. And I was thinking more along the lines of something that was more than just a sign saying emergency exit only. Because, you know, either have some sort of alarm on it. I mean, I understand we don't want it locked, because locked then that prevents emergency exit. But I believe without having a significant, I don't know all the technology of being able to change the doors so that a little buzzer goes off if someone opens it when they're not supposed to.
Yeah, I guess, you know, my concern is we're imposing an unknown cost on somebody.
Yeah, but it's also an issue where we are allowing now liquor sale in a space that, and I think most bars and taverns would want to have their doors secure just from a liquor control perspective. My guess is that liquor licenses probably have some control language in them as well in terms of access. So, I mean, you wouldn't want people just coming up the back stairs and coming into the space either necessarily, but I'm flexible. If the rest of the council or commission just wants to have just a sign that says emergency exit only, I guess I could live with that.
The only question, I'd like to say something. The only concern I have.
I'm sorry, Alan, but this is a deliberation for the members. You know, I hate to cut you off, but it can't just, it's not a conversation.
Mayor?
Go ahead, Alder Mayeski.
We can say what we want, but what do the ordinances say? How do the ordinances talk to emergency exits?
Before that's answered, can I throw in something?
Sure, I'm sure, but
I think we could probably we might be able to solve some problems here by not calling it an emergency exit, which could bring in some fire code regulations, and just ask that the signs be put up on the door that say restricted access.
So, well, the motion right now is for emergency exit. So I have, that's what we have on the floor right now. So I guess, is there any discussion on that, or anybody else have any thoughts about changing that, or do you want to just vote on that amendment?
It almost seems like we're stepping out of our jurisdiction here. This seems like it's a code enforcement / fire department issue instead of a planning department issue.
Agreed.
I don't know. That's what's my thinking, but maybe I'm all wet.
Well, actually, the way I'm looking at this is that they are exits that could be used in case of an emergency situation such as a fire. They could be accessed to be used because there is a door there. But if they are, does there something in the codes that prohibits them from being locked from the inside, so that all someone would have to do is, twist a deadbolt, and then there was a sign on it that, as was mentioned, that just said restricted access. I'm wondering if that would cover things and be sufficient, or if there really is more of they need to be accessible and be able to be used since they're not marked right now as emergency exits, but they are marked as exits with red exit signs. I don't know how many exits, not looking at the floor plan, how many exits and access, ingress, egress points there are.
From that second floor, you would need to have, there's an internal staircase, but otherwise that's the only exit other than one of those other two doors. So, and you have to have two forms of egress. So I think from a code perspective, you have to have the exit sign over at least one of those doors. It sounds like it's over both of those two doors. And I think if you put a sign saying restricted access, that runs counter to it serving as an exit.
Any other questions or comments on the motion that's on the table? So the amendment is to require emergency exit. So all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
any opposed?
I think no. If I'm understanding what we're voting on here, it sounds like that may be. I don't think I want to do that, because it sounds like, as you mentioned, that would be imposing some some restrictions and some cost as far as putting something in that is a little more involved than I think is where we want to end up. But I could be wrong, but I'm going to say no.
All right. I would say no. Did anybody else, everyone else vote?
I voted no.
I voted no. Did you hear me? I
No.
might have been muted.
No, I heard 2 ayes. And I heard 1, 2, 3, 4 no's. And Tom, what did you vote?
Up. Yes.
You voted, okay.
Aye.
Okay, so the motion, the way I heard it, Michael, and correct me if I'm wrong, the motion failed 3 to 4. Okay, so that takes us back to the original motion, which was to approve the conditional use permit as presented. Any additional amendments?
Well, here's where, is there an alternative that does not necessarily call it, you know, maybe and I could be missing something in the big picture here. Is there an alternative to calling it necessarily an emergency exit or fire escape exit or something like that? And
I
that
think
we can, and if the restricted access doesn't cover it, is there something else?
I think this needs to get pushed back to staff and have them work with the tenants and the fire department, whatever, and come up with something that works, and then bring it back before the commission.
Anybody else have any thoughts?
Is the intent for staff to try to figure out a way so the general public just doesn't walk up the front, the exterior, up the stairwell, right? So isn't that already being, is there a way to achieve that? It's not about necessarily the exit route. It's not about, it's to not promote public entrance from the other stairwell, right?
No, I think it was actually the reverse. Other than emergency exit, I don't think the idea is for people to be exiting out the common stairwell. They want them to use the internal exit down the internal stairwell.
That's how I understand it. There's an internal stairwell in Cheezer's. Right. So they would go upstairs, up that stairwell. And the idea is not to go out into that shared hallway, that they would have to go down that same stairwell.
Yes. We
can certainly work with the fire department. You know, it has to do with exiting and what requirements might be placed on the exit path. You know, there was some discussion about this deliveries. You know, is this going to prevent any deliveries from utilizing that area as well? I don't know what the intentions of the commissioners are on those type of items. If you send it back to staff to try to work this out with fire department and or tenants.
Any other thoughts? So if you're all in agreement, then I would entertain a motion to postpone this until we can bring that information back.
Move to postpone.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed. Tom.
All right, Tom opposed. All right, that motion carries. So we'll do some more work and we'll bring it back next month. Thanks for everyone for being here. Sorry we didn't get it resolved, but we'd rather try to get it right.
I appreciate it. And thanks, Brian, for your patience on it too.
All right, next item is item number 8. Annexation of approximately 38.46 acres from the town of Dunkirk to the Tigan Farm. Director Shield.
You've seen a concept plan related to potential development of this area. We've received the actual annexation request. The annexation ordinance would be subject to the DOA's finding that it's not against the public interest, which we expect to be the case. But ultimately, this reflects the area that was identified and discussed as part of a concept plan for residential development going forward. So along the South 4th Street corridor and abuts Acker Road on the southern edge.
All right, any questions or comments? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for a recommendation to City Council.
I'll make the motion for annexation. Recommendation to City Council.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Barman. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is number 9 is the planned development concept plan for property located at the northeast corner of Williams Drive and Glacier Moraine Drive. Director Shield.
This is a new project that we have been working and learning more about. There's a development that would like to build a facility on the northeast corner of Glacier Moraine Drive and Williams Drive. We have a presentation from the applicant. What's going to be occurring over time is we just received the annexation petition for this property today. So they plan to proceed with annexation of the land, ultimately rezoning it to the industrial planned a PD district as part of an industrial development, and then moving forward with construction as early as July. So with that, we've got a guest, Rob Fisher, who represents the ownership group and would like to give you an introduction about this project area.
Thank you, Rodney. I appreciate the opportunity this evening to share a little bit about our company, as well as a little bit about our proposed project, and then to entertain any questions. So Rodney, if you wouldn't mind, could you pull up the PowerPoint for me?
1 second.
And for others, you might have heard us refer to this as Project Delta in the past, as we were working with another firm, city attorney firm. So this is that same project.
Can you see the screen? There's
Yep. Yes.
Okay.
So you want to go ahead and go to the next slide, if you don't mind.
Yep.
So the company is Roth. Hopefully, most of you have heard of the name and are familiar with our products. But we are currently headquartered in Fitchburg, and we have 3 production facilities already within the state of Wisconsin. And I want to give you a little background about us as a company, and then I've got kind of a top line to talk about our proposed project. Rodney, thank you. So one of our primary product line is gourmet or craft cheeses. We also have a very interactive website if you get the opportunity and want to check it out a little bit around and how people use our cheeses, as well as our involvement in the community. Go ahead, Rodney. A little bit about us as a company. I realize a lot of this at this point is words on a page, but I think as you get more familiar with us and this project, you'll have a better understanding of what these mean. From a people perspective, we have roughly 300 employees in the state as of right now, across our 3 production facilities and also our regional headquarters, which is located in Fitchburg. Very much a community-oriented company. If you look at our current locations, our involvement within the communities in each one of those areas, you get a very good sense of kind of who we are and what we're all about. If you look at our passion, I'm going to share with you here in a minute. Our cheeses are very much craft cheeses. We won a number of awards for the quality of our product. We take a great pride in both the quality of the product and our brands. Very much consumer focused. I know earlier when you were talking about the cheesers business and the charcuterie trays, and we do a lot of that, very interactive with our consumer. And then one of the things also around our facility that we're proposing, that you also get a very good sense of our social responsibility as well. Go ahead. A little bit about the evolution of the company. We date back to 1911 when an immigrant, Otto Roth, immigrated from Switzerland and began importing cheeses. Then, since then, beginning really in 1991, when the descendants of Otto Roth formed Roth Case USA and started to make cheese. And our original location was Monroe, Wisconsin, and was chosen one for the high quality milk in the area, as well as there was already an existing cheese making infrastructure in the area. And in 1993, we produced the first copper vat cheese, as well as our aging process using spruce boards from Switzerland. And this continues to be a tradition today in our operation. You can go to our Monroe facility and see this in operation. In 2009, we were acquired by the Emmy Group, a Swiss-based dairy cooperative, and they have been a great parent in terms of helping us grow. In 2014, we built what would be our modern facility in Platteville, Wisconsin. One of the things I highlight is if you notice the roof, it's entire solar array on the roof. So we generate a large portion of our own electricity in this facility. And I think that's just one indication of how we look at sustainability in our facilities, and those types of things would be a part of our project in Stoughton. I referenced our award-winning cheese, and our Grand Cru was in 2016 awarded World Championship status, and continues to receive high awards. And then continuing our growth in 2019, we acquired the Seymour blue cheese and Gorgonzola plant from Great Lakes to kind of grow our position within that particular segment of the cheese industry. And then most recently, last year, we acquired the largest feta brand in the United States, and that being Athenos. So we've continued to grow, and this would kind of be the next logical step for us, this project in Stoughton. So go ahead, Bronny. Just briefly touching on a couple of these areas. So one of our primary focuses from sourcing milk is sustainably sourced milk, and we take that approach, high quality, also sustainability. If you look at our products from a food safety standpoint, we have a number of certifications from food safety. We also, both within the FDA and also European standards influenced by our parent company. Our brands, we have a number of brands that you'll see in the both in the retail segment, as well as we do quite a bit of food service. A lot of our cheeses show up in restaurants across the country. And then we also do import some of the products from our parent company in Switzerland. Okay. Just a quick snapshot of some of the awards that we've picked up with the various brands, having received over 200 both international and national awards for the quality of our cheeses. Okay. I referenced we have 3 production facilities in the state, Monroe being our original location, the Platteville location, which was added in 2014, and then we acquired the Seymour plant in 2019. The Seymour plant, as I mentioned, is primarily focused on blue cheese and Gorgonzola, while the other 2 locations produce a number of different cheeses, different style cheeses. This is a design 3D mock-up of our proposed project for Stoughton. Roughly 160,000 square feet, between 150 and 160. And I show how it would be positioned on the property. It's roughly a 19-acre parcel, which would be a portion of the Moe family farm on the corner of Williams Drive and Glacier Moraine. The facility would be a cold storage distribution storage warehouse, as well as our production facility. And then both plant and corporate offices located here as well. Okay. A little bit about our parent company, the Emmy Group, based in Lucerne, Switzerland. They have presence in roughly 15 markets across the globe. And also, if you look, 9 countries and over 30 producing locations, roughly 9,000 employees globally. And from a sales perspective in 2021, the company did about $4.2 billion. And the map shows kind of where the sales occurred. If you look at the Americas, about 38% of our global sales occurred in North America. And a couple of other things from the standpoint of how we operate. Basically, the local operations with a partnership with our parent company from an international perspective. I talked about some imports that we bring in, as well as the higher percentage of our stuff is local produced. If you look at our, I talked before about sustainability and food safety. If you look at kind of a corporate mantra is this, together we create the best dairy moments. And one of the things within our organization, we have a recognition program that is all about what is referred to as best cheese moments within Emmy Roth. Okay. I kind of went through that fairly quick. Now, if you have any questions, I also have a couple of our project engineers with me on the call as well. So we can entertain any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you. So this is here kind of is an introduction, information only. We're not looking for any action tonight. There'll be plenty of that later, but now's a chance to ask any questions, you know, kind of about the company or the location or process that you might have.
Mayor, if I can.
Sure, go ahead.
So I know from my experience, one of the biggest questions that comes up with these kinds of production facilities is the potential smell or aroma associated with cheese production. And I know there's technology that exists to be able to mitigate that. but it does cost. And so you have to have a commitment by the corporation to actually use and invest in that. So I'd like to hear from you, and just in terms of just your stance and approach to that kind of aroma environmental impact.
Yes. So one point to clarify with this facility, it's not going to be a make operation. It's going to be a conversion where our other facility is going to be supplying this location with bulk cheese that we'll be converting into retail and food service packages. So I think some of what you're referencing would occur if it was a make facility, but the other component, and to more directly answer your question, there should be no strong odors or noxious smells or anything emitting from the facility. If you look at the air handling and conditioned space that we're going to be operating in, all of that should be addressed to where you're not going to have any strong odors emitting from the facility.
Thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners?
My only question I had was what of their many brands they were going to have in there, but that was answered by that this is just going to be a breakdown and repackaging facility.
Yes, we'll be everything basically, but our blue cheese and Gorgonzola brands will be coming through this facility.
We have in the office space, just the office space. Do you have probably not in a plant like this, any small retail area that you'd be able to buy them from, or not?
At this point in time, we have not defined whether we'll have a retail space in there. We do have that at our Monroe location. At this point in time, we don't have that planned for this site.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from commissioners?
The rendering that we're currently looking at, I don't see anything as indicated previously, solar panels on the roof.
That's correct. It's this level of detail. We haven't gotten to that point yet. We're still, from a design perspective, we're still designing a lot of the line layouts are not completely finalized at this point in time. The solar array that we're looking at is currently still being designed. So that level of detail isn't represented on the drawing at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Also referencing that drawing, as you have the building rendered on there, you are suggesting that there's potential for an expansion space. What area on there would be considered as the expansion space?
So where Rodney's moving the cursor right now, the north side of the building. And if Rodney, can you go to the aerial view that shows there you go. So what's represented on here would be the initial building, and then to the north, which is the top of the drawing, we're intended to purchase 19 acres, which would allow us enough space to actually double the size of the building to the north.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any questions?
I think I have a quick one. Actually, just taking a quick scan while you were doing your presentation, jumping onto your corporate website, it was good to see the noting of the sustainability and the the changes to the packaging and everything that involves, you know, going forward. It looked like your goal was like 2027 to have that kind of be more earth friendly as far as that part of your operation goes. Would you be, so this would be your corporate, I'm just curious from my own mind and maybe some other folks here, but it says your corporate office now is in Fitchburg. So you would be relocating that to this location?
That's part of the plan. Yes.
Okay. And noticing locations where if the, I guess more what you would call bulk product is coming into this facility to be repackaged, I guess that would be, I'm just, the thought just jumps into my head about logistics of, so I'm guessing probably coming in interstate down Highway N, most likely.
Yeah, we got, we've done a cursory traffic study, and we'll be doing more detailed work on that as far as the truck routes. The majority will be heading out to the interstate, certainly outbound, and going to points south. And then we'll have product coming from the Seymour plant up in on the west side of Green Bay, and then from Platteville from the west, and Monroe from the southwest. So the routes, one of the things we're working with right now, we have a logistics company that we work with that would help us out with some of that routing and things, routing the different truck lanes, both into and out of the facility.
I was just kind of, since that it looks like there's quite a few bays there, and you know, just kind of thinking with a mind to increase potential heavy truck traffic through town, but you know, I know that wouldn't make the most sense since that would be the slowest.
Yeah, but our intention would not be to go through town.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other thoughts or comments from commissioners?
Their Roth Grand Cru that won the award is delicious.
Thank you. Glad you concur.
Yeah, I was going to give you some samples, but it's hard to do virtually.
I'll still come down to the office.
All right. Any other thoughts or questions? So Rodney, maybe kind of walk us through kind of where we're at and where you think we're going in the process.
Yeah, certainly there's a number of steps that we have to go through yet. As I indicated, we just received the annexation petition today. So we'll be going through the annexation process, the rezoning process. There'll be a certified survey map that creates the parcel individually. And then ultimately you'll have, there is also an urban service area amendment here. Commissioners and the council members will recognize Glacier Moraine Drive was fully improved with utilities and the like. Water runs up Williams Drive. So this area is well served, but it does have to be added to the urban service area. We've been, Jill Weiss, the utilities director, has been closely involved with the initial discussions with us, understands the utility implications, and certainly is not concerned about them by any means. She certainly feels we've got great capacity for this facility. We understand this is going to be a large electrical generator, but very minimal impact on sewer and water. So excited to be able to move that forward through the urban service area amendment process. And ultimately you'll have the site plan approval as part of the final steps along with this as well.
All right, thank you. Any final thoughts or questions? All right, certainly, you know, from a city perspective and staff, you know, we're excited to see the opportunity here and had great initial conversations with the group, and we look forward to continuing those conversations.
Thank you. Appreciate the time to introduce the project to you this evening.
All right, thank you. Okay, next item is item number 10, which is extraterritorial jurisdiction CSM at 3060 Shady Side Drive in the town of Pleasant Springs.
Pretty straightforward request. Obviously, it's not something, it's within our ETJ area. They're combining parcels here to create one lot. And it would be subject to town and county standards for that standard.
Any questions from commissioners?
I have one, actually. Just I'm very curious about this. The reference to the vacated Cherry Drive is, I know this is, you know, on the edge of the jurisdictional boundary and all that, but was there an access road or a street or something at one point that was involved here? I don't really see anything.
Yeah, I think you've hit it correctly, that at one point there was an area that was dedicated with anticipated future street connection that didn't materialize.
Yeah, I believe they split that right of way to the property owners adjacent, and then this property owner decided to buy the other half of that right of way to add it to his. So he's getting the full right of way, but he's paying the adjacent property owner for it.
Got it.
That makes a little bit more sense. I was kind of confused as to what they were attempting to do with this.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments on this one? We're looking for a recommendation to City Council.
I will recommend approval to send this to council.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? Any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Item 11 is the zoning ordinance amendment to section 78-405, parent 4. Who wants to walk us through this one?
I can start. Really, it's an acknowledgement of the need to make some language changes to our ordinances that are related to accessibility. And I think we've tried to accomplish that as part of the change before tonight in our zoning code.
Any initial thoughts or questions?
I just have one possible correction. If we can move forward to where the language there on that item number 3, I believe. I don't know, or C, I don't know if that's necessary to add that addition, because in item B, it says it's pretty much all inclusive except for that addition in C. So I don't think it has to, in reading through it, I believe it doesn't have to be listed twice on B and C. But otherwise, I approve the change.
That's a valid point. We'll consider that to see if that's necessary or not. But thank you for pointing that out. We'll look into that deeper.
All right, anything else before we go into the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll close the regular meeting, reopen the public hearing. I didn't see anyone signed up to speak for this one. Anybody wish to speak? Yeah, I didn't think so. We'll close the public hearing and we'll reopen for our regular meeting. So how would you like to proceed with this? You want them to make a recommendation contingent or changing that, or what would you like to do, Rodney?
I think they can make their recommendation with or without it in there. Then we'll evaluate it for confirmation before the council meeting.
All right, and Commissioner Barman, are you okay with that?
I am.
All right. Who would like to make the motion?
I can make the motion to approve or move this forward to council.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alder Majewski. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Next item, discuss meeting in person. Anybody want to meet in person?
I'm all right with doing so. We did so for finance and main council meeting, or at least I was comfortable doing that.
Anybody else, or would you just prefer to stare at Zoom every week or every month?
I prefer the in-person.
All right.
I prefer to have both. I don't mind meeting in person as long as the numbers don't start ballooning up again. Because on the news tonight, they were talking about another variant that was even more contagious than the Omicron variant. And so it's, if this doesn't start blowing up again, I'm fine with meeting in person. As long as the numbers stay down or keep decreasing.
All right. So our policy allows us to do either or, and it's at the discretion of the chair. And I'm fine with doing a hybrid. We have been able to do that successfully for other meetings. And, that gives you the option and the flexibility to do what you think is best for you. We want you to be comfortable at the meetings, and in some cases, it just might be more convenient. So I'm fine with that. So that's what we'll plan for at the next meeting. How's that sound?
Good.
Sounds good.
Good.
All right. All right. So that's the plan. We'll be set up for both, and then we'll go from there. Future agenda items. What do we have for future agenda items?
I think very quickly you'll start to see annexation paperwork related to the proposed industrial development along Williams Drive. Likely be seeing some additional paperwork and concept plans related to the annexation on the south edge of town that we just walked through tonight. Certainly going to continue to see things related to ordinance changes that come forth. So we're continuing to work on refinement of that as well.
All right. Anything from commissioners?
I have something. I'd like to see an update on the movement by Walmart to replace its upgrade its landscaping as it was required to do when it did sign change. What is the status of that, and where are they?
All right, we can reach out to them and see what kind of response we get.
Mayor,
responses on. I want to see the movement, considering that was the contingents of them getting their sign change.
All right.
I had been in discussion with the landscaping company that was going to do the work, and I think it got too late last year. So I'll touch base with them again, I think, and push them a little bit so they get going this spring.
That's good. I just want to see it fall off the table.
All right. Anything else?
Mayor, I have one thing about the agenda item that we postponed to the next meeting with the rezoning or the entertainment use for cheesers.
Yes.
I guess I would just like to clarify what I would like personally as a commissioner for staff to look into. I mean, when I was talking about those two exits on the upper floor to the shared stairwell, it wasn't just in response to the public hearing. It's in response to the fact that I think the intention of this change is for the two floors to operate as a single business, which I think is important not only from a code perspective, but it's important from an accessibility perspective. I think in general, accessibility codes require businesses be ADA accessible, which In a lot of ways, that space, if it operated as an independent business, a separate business would not be ADA accessible because it only is accessible via stairs. And so, but there's different contingencies when the 2 floors operate as a single business. And so my concern is for maintaining that those doors as exit only maintains the space as exclusively tied to the first floor business, so that you can't, for example, close Cheezers at 8 o'clock and then have an event up on the 2nd floor at 9 o'clock in the evening and only accessible up and down those shared stairwells. So I think when you're thinking about it from a city staff perspective, I think I'd like you to keep that in mind as well.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed. Thank you. Have a great night.
Night, everybody.
All right.